Hey, you're back.
It is me. Hey,
I
everyone.
missed you.
I missed you too, buddy. It's amazing what a week does when you're away. It feels like such a long time, but it was great last week. You had Gabe on helping
Yeah,
out with the episode.
I mean, I missed you, but Gabe was a worthy stand-in as well. I mean, I didn't, I enjoyed the show with Gabe as well, but it's like
Yeah,
a soft, warm blanket that when you haven't had it for a while and then you come back and it's all nice and cozy, I feel a little bit more protected right now.
I feel a little bit creeped out too at this moment as well.
Okay, fair enough.
But thanks, to Gabe for helping look after things here last week, and welcome to another episode of Chain Out Podcast with Jeremy and Daryl.
Yeah, episode 30. We keep doing these big milestones, 25, 29, half a year, episode 30. And we keep saying it. We got an episode for you this week.
And boy, do we. Well, let's go through and let's give listeners an idea of what we got coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an episode, so we've got to have a number one Edgar tag update.
That's right. We'll do that. We're also going to review some discs that we got sent in the mail. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
We kind of teased that a bit in a previous episode. Obviously, we have the big guest, the legend that is Scott Stokely. We're excited to interview him later on.
Yeah, I have to say, Daryl, my knees were a bit knocking when we were going to have a guest this big on the show.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
And then we're going to also tell you a little bit about the second Canadian A tier that's coming up this weekend and our fantasy picks that we do.
Yeah. And then it's been a long time coming, but we finally have an announcement to let everybody know about the Canadian Disc Golf Tour.
That's right. And we also have a Disc Golf Pro Tour update, let you know what the Canadians are doing this week that participate in those events.
Yeah. And then, as always, stick around in the chat. Stick around for the secret word. And if any of our listeners have questions for us, get them in the chat and we will do our best to answer them as well.
That's right. Well, let's start with that number one tag update.
This is right. So, hand it over to you.
Yes. Last week, I did not prepare you very well. I listened to the episode and realized that I gave you not a lot to work with there, Daryl.
Yeah. I mean, you gave me something and I, I'm a man of not very many words. So I didn't want to go off script too much. Yeah, there was only about 7 words in the script, so I couldn't really go too far wrong on that.
It's like, and you got every one of them right. It was amazing.
That's about all I did get right on the script last week, but
well, that happens.
Yeah.
So Scott Brimacombe had the tag last week, and he went into a battle this week with Dylan Froelich, who listens to the show regularly, as well as someone who's had that tag a couple times now in Riley Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
So from what I heard, it was a fairly uneventful round. Everybody was just kind of playing their game on Thursday. And then as they got to the 12th hole, which we know is the last hole, everything was tied up. And it was tied up at like -6, Daryl. So you got like 3 great players all playing pretty decent.
Yeah.
Scott's got the box, and everyone who's played Rundle knows that hole 12, signature hole, you've got the water there. They'll be turning on the fountain before you know it, and you got to make the choice. Are you going to contend with a backhand with that tree in front of you, or are you going to contend with the water and try and fly over it and go out to the to try to get to the pin that way?
Yeah.
So Scott stepped up, and unfortunately for him, as we've seen before, that tag, that number one tag, is almost like the One Ring. It just weighs you down.
Yeah.
And he threw his disc into the water. OB takes the OB strokes. So then Dylan goes, and he has a throw, and I guess it's a pretty decent throw, but it kicks off a tree, and it goes about 50 feet left, I believe it was. So he's got about a 50-foot putt, I believe, is what he's got. Maybe I'm wrong on the putt. There was a 50-foot thing in there, so in any event, it wasn't that close. So Riley Douglas,
what I heard is that he kicked over to near the path, right?
Yes, yeah, it kept on going that way. Yeah. So he's got that 50-footer, and then Riley Douglas goes and parks the disc right at the basket. So
there you go. I guess I can infer what happened there. So Riley has the tag.
Yeah, he put it into the basket, took the tag again. I think it's like his 3rd or 4th time we were counting, depending, because he had that trade-off with Terry there at one point.
Yeah, exactly. He's had it, then he lost it, then he had it for a day, lost it to a day, and got it back again the next day, I think. And then,
Yeah.
like we said before, it's going to even itself out over the time. Everyone has their day. Someone's going to get it, and then they're going to hold on for it for a while, and then they're going to have an off day. The wind is going to play. The wind that we seem to shake here in Edmonton, that's going to play a factor as well. So
yeah, so it's going to be interesting. He did say though that he does want to challenge co-host of the show last week, Gabe Piska, and
okay, because
guest
Gabe,
slash friend of the show, Tristan Piska. He wants to take on the two of them and see if he can hold his own there.
wow, okay, yeah. I mean, Gabe was all up for taking over that tag. He said that he wanted to get his name mentioned on the show in the tag update. So hopefully next week we'll have something to report.
Yeah, and that's what I got on the tag update.
Awesome. Well, you kind of mentioned it earlier that we had some discs to review, and what would have been great if we did say this. It would have been nice if we had the discs in front of us to show. Oh, you have the discs, don't you?
I do have the discs.
That's why I don't have the discs. I was thinking that I don't have the discs. Yeah. So we teased it in a previous episode as well that we were reached out to by a new Canadian manufacturer of discs called Discscape. We reached out to them. We said that we'd be interested in having a look at their discs and doing some sort of review for them. They were more than happy to do that as well. So they actually sent us some discs to review. And if you've been to Rundle League when we've been there ready to tee off, we've probably shoved these discs in your hand and said, here, throw these. Let us know what you think. And, let us record you as well. So I'm just going to play in the background while we're talking. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, do you want to go deep into this one, or do you want to? We've got a notification that our guest is just ready and waiting. He's messaged us and everything.
Well, let's just bring him right on then.
Yeah. So what we'll do before we get him in here is let's give the introduction, but we got to get back to those discs, and we'll do that right after we get this interview done.
Yeah. Let's bring.
Because when a gentleman like Scott says he's ready, then we got to make sure that we got him on. So let me do a quick. A lot of you who are listening probably know who Scott is, and some of you may not. So I'm going to give you a bit of an intro for him.
Get to it.
All right. This week's guest has been a PDGA member since 1984 when he was still a junior. He's definitely a legend in the disc golf world. He's traveled the world playing disc golf. He has a book, a documentary, and an amazing disc golf instructional program. He helps people of all abilities play disc golf. He now has his own line of discs. He has sponsored players. I could keep going and going, Daryl, but we'd never get to the interview. So let's welcome Scott Stokely to the show.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. By the way, just a heads up, I'm in the middle of a very heated round of disc golf with all of my enemies in the Oak Harbor Disc Golf Club. Oh. You want to see the worst offender of all? Look at public enemy.
There's always one. We got it.
Yes. Look at that shot. What a shot. No, I'm out. I'm on San Juan Island at absolute paradise on a disc golf course, and I had already scheduled something all over the island, and I messed up because there was the podcast, and I'm like, maybe I could do the show while we're playing the round because the word got out and like 20 people showed up to meet me in golf, so I couldn't cancel.
Yeah.
Oh, hope that's okay.
I mean, we expect nothing less from you, Scott. To be if you're going to do an interview, you're going to do it on a disc golf course. I mean, that's awesome.
I think it's going to. I already told everybody that I'd be ignoring them, that they would be far less important to me for the next hour and a half than you guys. So they're aware that
thank you so much.
Paying attention to you guys. But how you guys doing, man? You guys are looking good.
Yeah, we're doing well, Scott. We're so excited to have a guest of your caliber on the show. And, even as you said, I don't think you could probably go to a disc golf course without people kind of even smelling that you were there and just flocking to the course.
No, so it's the biggest trip out here. So I am not making this up. This is how this all came about. And I got 8 witnesses. We're like an 8-some. I'm in line for the ferry in our van to come out to the island, and the woman in the car behind us comes up, knocks on the door, says, "I only own one golf disc, and it has your name on it. My husband loves to play," and she called him, and then I get on the ferry, and then someone on the ferry recognized me. I'm like, it's such a weird thing after 3 or 44 years playing in obscurity. Like this happens now. And then by the time I got off the ferry, the word was out like, hey, everyone on the island knows you're here. We got to come out and golf. And I bump into people at the grocery store, and it's crazy. It's so cool, man. It's mind blowing to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, it's one of those happy burdens, right? It's something that, like you said, for obscurity for so many years, but now the fact that you get recognized and you get to meet up with all these awesome people and get out there and throw discs like we all like to do, so that's amazing.
It is. It's not a happy burden. It's not a burden at all. It's everything about it. It just makes me feel so flattered and humbled and special, and everything about it is like if I wasn't enjoying this, then I would quit playing. Because this is like what we all worked so hard to get our sport to get to this point, right? It's perfect. Nice putt. My partner's made.
Well, you said that you mentioned that you're traveling there and you travel to the island, and we know that you're always moving around. You're almost seen as a bit of a world traveler. Like, do you have a home base at the moment? Is it just wherever, as the song goes, wherever you lay your hat, that's your home?
Yeah, no, I've actually been in 36 countries in the last 2 years. I've taught this.
Wow.
I've taught a disc golf class in 26 countries in the last 2 years. No, absolutely no home base. I have no storage unit. I don't have a box of stuff in my parents' house. This is not an exaggeration. My girlfriend and I, we don't own, work stuff. Golf discs, tour clothing, merchandise. Outside of work stuff, neither of us own a single thing in this entire world that we can't fit into 2 backpacks. We've been on the road together for 4.5 years. We're never going to, I'm never going to have a home. I will be traveling until, I will die on the road somewhere. I'll fall over someday, but I'm never going to stop. So, yeah.
As long as it's on a disc golf course.
It's a different type of life. Actually, well, ironically, and I hate to even say this, but when on my days off, I don't disc golf ever. This is a rare day. On my days off, I'm doing everything but disc golf because as much as I love it, it's also, I have other interests and it is a bit of a job. So
exactly.
It's the reality. But this is such a special opportunity.
We know you're a busy man. We know you've got so many things on the go. You've got, so many things that we'll get to later on, but you can't be doing everything you want to do all of the time. Everything has to be prioritized, right?
Yeah. Hey, wait. Don't say anything. Oh, hey. Please.
Okay. That's a first for the show.
He was looking for a destroyer in the woods. Hey, it's fun, man. It's supposed to be fun, right? So,
100%.
Last I heard. So you're not going to get anything other than fun out of me. So what's up, guys?
Well, Perfect. There you go. We've had a lot of exclusives, Scott, but that's the first exclusive like that.
Yes, well, I made sure his back was to you, so it was still PG-13.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh my God, I see it. You can't see the basket from here. It's 500 feet through the woods, and I'm going to birdie it. I'm going to birdie it live on video in just a minute. Eagle.
Nice.
I don't know. I'll be happy with the 3. So. Where you guys where are you located again?
So we're up in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and we've been doing this podcast here into 30 episodes now, doing it for just over 6 months and trying to do a lot of stuff about our local scene, doing content on Alberta, doing content in all of Canada. And really, that's where we were going to get to with you. But I was going to ask you, Scott, as we get going, because this is a question you've probably answered hundreds, if not thousands of times, is kind of how you got into disc golf, but I'm going to ask it to you just a little bit differently, kind of with our chain out flair to it. So let me know if you're ready for that, and I'll give you a little story here.
Right. I'm ready. Shoot, man. I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. So this is kind of my version, maybe related to a movie, and we get our guests to maybe guess about it. So let's say maybe you got into disc golf at an early age, like really into disc golf. So much so you became a professor of the game. You dove into the history of the sport like an archaeologist. Your knowledge and curiosity allowed you to travel the world by map. And then we lost you right in the middle of the origin story.
It took too long to get
I'm losing my
there.
connection here.
Well, should we just do it for everybody else?
Get back in. I'm so sorry, guys.
It's okay. We understand. You're on a disc golf course. The reception and everything is going to be.
No, I looked into it, though, and I was told since I had T-Mobile that I would get reception out here. So it's been pretty good. Okay, can you repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay, Scott. What we do is we just do a fun little thing. Is we want you to tell our listeners who haven't really had that Scott Stokely background information of how you got in disc golf. We just try to do it a little fun. So I'll try it one more time and see if you'll get this one. So it's kind of based on a movie, and I'm trying to tie maybe parts of your history into it. Okay. Maybe you got into disc golf at an early age, like really into disc golf. So much so, you became a professor of the game. You dove into the history of the sport like an archaeologist. Your knowledge and curiosity allowed you to travel the world by map. With your trusty discs at your hip, you went on adventures like Raiders of the Lost Oak Park, the Temple of Zoom, the Quest for the Holy Shot. You took on these challenges with bravery and poise, unless there were snakes involved.
Oh,
why does there always have to be snakes?
So maybe that's not quite how you got into disc golf, Scott, but why don't you tell us?
So first off, I know what movie you're talking about. It's my favorite movie of all time. Clearly, you're talking about College Co-Ed Cheerleaders 13. Oh, wait. Hold on, I gotta throw.
Your second favorite movie.
Yeah, what? The greatest movie ever made. I used her to throw. Hold on, I'm going to go ahead and throw quick, and then I'll tell you how I got into disc golf. And check it out.
Yep, you bet.
And you're going to see my throwing face. Is it? Yeah! Oh my God! Did you guys see that? Hold on, I'm going to run towards the basket. I'm not kidding.
That's awesome.
We didn't get a chance to see it, but it sounds awesome.
Unbelievable.
Did you just throw that in?
No, there's nobody. This was not a setup. Look at this.
Oh dear. It's going to be one of those episodes, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to pull the disc out of the basket.
Well, it's
there's only one problem. That's the basket I was shooting at.
One of the biggest legends, one of the biggest
I just aced the wrong
interviews that
basket.
we've ever done.
Yeah.
Live on video.
Well, it sounds like he threw
on
that
the
one in,
internet.
so good for him on
It
that.
sounded like he threw it in.
I know,
Just say
I'll mark it under the
threw it in.
basket.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I just got a black case live.
That wasn't a chain out, that's for sure. Hey, you're back.
Okay, we can hear you now.
Yeah, okay, so I went ahead and I withdrew from my doubles round, and I'm now out in the field where we had great reception out here, but when we got back into the woods, I'm so sorry, but anyways, I can't.
That's totally fine.
So I apologize to the people watching for the dead time. Did you see what happened? Did that get captured on film?
We heard it. Everybody was shouting. It sounded like something awesome happened.
Yeah, so I got an ace.
No, you didn't. You got an ace?
I got an ace holding the phone in my hand. Everything about it was absolutely amazing, except it was the wrong basket. So there's 3 baskets for the whole. And, this is a par. There's like two of the baskets are par 3s, and we were playing at the par 4. And I hit a tree halfway up the fairway, and it ricocheted off the tree and went straight into the basket of the short of the red course. So I got a black ace.
Well,
live on your show.
I was a bit surprised when you said you got an ace, because it sounded like you said that you were going to step up to the tee and eagle it. Well,
Yeah,
I guess an ace on a par 3 is an eagle anyway.
Like,
but
I just can't believe it happened. I'm so sorry for that's got to be the dead time in between though. But anyways, I'm out in the field now. I should have good reception now. All right, I don't know how much of the story you got about how I got
good.
Yeah, well, I think we really lost you there just after that throw, so we didn't even get started with your story there.
Okay, so basically the way I got into disc golf, my dad died when I was 7, and my mom took me to the local parks in the area, and one of them had this thing called a Frisbee golf course, which I would play whenever my mom would take me there. I didn't realize at that time that it was the only Frisbee golf course in the world. To me, I was a 7-year-old kid. It was just this one thing that park had. Other parks had merry-go-rounds or swing sets. That one had a Frisbee golf course. Didn't, give it any thought. I mean, it wasn't a historic location because nobody, of course, nobody knew anything back then. It was brand new. So when I was 11, I moved. The park was right across the border from a very rich neighborhood into what was effectively a very blue-collar park. And I moved to this really rich neighborhood where I didn't have any friends. I didn't fit in. I didn't come from that neighborhood. Every kid had a nicer bike. Everybody had nicer designer clothing. And I was just like a blue-collar kid. And so I didn't have any friends. I mean, literally, I didn't make any friends in the town. So I went and played Frisbee golf every day after school. And I just found a bench I can sit on. And so I went there and was just mesmerized by the top Frisbee players in the park, which were the early pioneers of disc sports. But people like Steve Bentley and John Winterkorn and Joe Rosino and Russ Hamilton and Scott Zimmerman, but a lot of them you'd never even heard of because they were just the early pioneers of the game. But I didn't know them. I was just a kid playing in the park. And then this guy with long hair and a bushy red mustache named Bruce Sitson came up to me and said, "Hey, we have this Frisbee golf club called the Oak Grove Gophers. We would love for you to be a part of." And he gave me a couple golf Frisbees, which I've never had. I was playing with Frisbees from a grocery store, and They was the first golf Frisbees I ever got. I mean, I remember the tee pad of the hole I was on when it happened still, and that was 46 years ago. And that was probably the most important day of my life because that was the day that set me on this path that now I was part of the club, and now I met everybody. Then when I showed up the next day, I knew people, and that was it. That was how, from that point, that was it.
Wow. And and then you've just been playing ever since, and that's amazing. And I always appreciated, I've heard some of your story before, but you're so honest and open with it, and it's such a moving and touching story of just what disc golf can do for a person and how it can affect their life in a positive way.
Well, I've left the sport twice. One time when I was younger, when I was age say 17 to 19, and my life went to shit. And then I left the sport again from age 31 to 43, and my life went to shit again. That's just whenever I've left the sport, it's not gone well for me. This is my base, my family, my identity, my everything is here. And so I've concluded that I don't do well without my sport. I need it.
Yeah. And that's it's great that you have that and that you can share it. And we're going to talk about some of the different ways that you've shared it as we get going on. But, amazingly too there, the original disc golf course is where you started out at Oak Grove. And it almost seems to be a little bit of a pilgrimage place for a lot of people. I'm finding just that history that's in there. And then, your story is part of that history now as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you guys know the story about how the course went in? It's
no, I can't say I do.
So where the course went in, Whammo started selling Frisbees all over the world. And there was no internet, so there was no way of knowing like what was happening. Like there might have been rumors that there was a frisbee club here or people inventing this game, but nobody had even figured out what games that were being played. There was nothing organized. It's not like frisbees were built to be a product for a sport. Frisbees were built to fly differently than balls, and people were making stuff up. So Ed Hedrick and Dan Roddick, mostly Ed, I think initially, they created an event called the All Comers Meet out in Pasadena, California, and basically put out the word, hey, if you want to, well, first off, people could join the organization like by putting 50 cents in an envelope. I think they had to cut out the back of the cereal box in some cases, right, to join the the International Frisbee Association. And but the word went out. They were having this all comers meet, and there's going to be a bunch of different events. And it was like making stuff up. We'll see who can throw the farthest. We'll see who can throw it in the air the longest before catching it. We'll see who can do the coolest tricks. And a couple months before, a guy by the name of George Sappenfield ran a Frisbee tournament out in Thousand Oaks, California, which is also in L.A. And he introduced, well, he wasn't the inventor, but he at his event played Frisbee golf. And he came up with this idea of using hula hoops as the holes, because he thought that you shouldn't hole out on the ground because Frisbees fly. So he hung up hula hoops, made a little 9-hole Frisbee golf course, and he had approached Whammo, because Whammo, the hula hoop fad came and went years before. Whammo had like 1 million hula hoops lying around in boxes. So, so anyways, he it went really well. So before the all-comers meet, not that long before, George Sappenfield went to Ed Hedrick and said, hey, you should maybe do include Frisbee golf at the all-comers meet. And kind of as a fairly last-minute thing, Ed Hedrick decided to do that. And Ed and I think Dan Roddick and maybe some other people went out and put in a 18-hole Frisbee golf course at Oak Grove Park. And they just put poles in the ground. Now, the interesting thing back then was that it was such a small community that when everybody came out, everybody kind of knew each other. Like all the people that played Frisbee seriously in Los Angeles, everybody knew each other. Any new people that came in as a result of knowing somebody in the local community. It was a very closed community because it was so small, but nobody just randomly was playing. Like, you knew them or you knew the person they knew. So anyways, after they ran this Frisbee golf tournament, or the all-comers meet, which included Frisbee golf, and it got covered in the newspapers and stuff, they said, hey, let's leave the course in the ground because maybe we'd like to play it again. Oak Grove didn't tell them to pull the poles out. There were no baskets, just poles. They said, well, let's just leave it in the ground. Maybe we can come back and play. It'll be fun. We had a good time. And what happened is they went out the following weekend, and there were people out there playing Frisbee golf.
Wow.
Okay.
And because they had read about it in the newspaper, came out to try it. But the reason it was such a landmark event was that Dan Roddick and Ed Hedrick and them looked around and they said, did you tell them about this? Are they friends of yours? And no, they discovered the sport independently, thought it sounded fun, and started playing without being brought in.
Right.
That was a big deal because that's when they went, hey, maybe we got something here. We got something that people think is fun because it just sounds fun, not because we've promoted or dragged them along because we work with them or something. That's how it started. And then after the poles were in the ground in 75 and 76, they started making handmade baskets and putting baskets in the ground. But that's how it started.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that kind of history that for you playing as long as you have that, and you have that knowledge. And for a lot of us, some of us who have been pandemic golfers and that's stuff that we already have a lot of passion for the sport, but we don't have that knowledge and history, and it's great that you can share it with us.
Well, that's a big part of what I've kind of put on my shoulders, but also has been placed on my shoulders, is that I'm without a doubt the biggest bridge between the origin of the sport and sorry, I think it just cut out, but I'm probably the biggest bridge between the origin of the sport and the modern game. because I was around, not at the early days, but pretty damn close. But I know all the people. They were all friends of mine. They were the people I grew up with for the origin of the sport. And I'm also on the pro tour today. So I am that bridge. And so I've done a lot to try to preserve the history in my videos. That's when I wrote my autobiography. I mean, if you read my autobiography, it's my first 25 years in the sport, but it's as much about the first 25 years of the sport. It's through my eyes, but so much of it's a history. Like, I didn't leave any big historical things out of my book because that is my history. I just didn't teach it like a history book with names and dates. I taught it as, here, this is where I was when we first heard about this thing. It was the first time that thing ever happened. So it's a first-person account, but it is a history book. And I've tried very hard to get the
You're telling it from a person that actually lived right through it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I lived. So what's funny, people said, they go, it's like, it's like Forrest Gump, because like I was there at all the landmark events, all these, like every major event in the sport, like I happened to be there, like Forrest Gump, right? And it's like, no, what you don't realize is the sport was so small. Yes, I was at all these things. We all were. It's kind of like when people are like, did you know Ed Hedrick? I'm like, of course I knew Ed Hedrick. We all knew Ed Hedrick because we were all, it was small. So it wasn't weird that participants, if there was a big event or a big thing, all of us were there because all of us was a few hundred people. So, of course, we were all there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was such a close-knit group at that time, definitely, not as it's expanded, but even with the expansion and over 250,000 PDGA members plus other players, still, it feels like that tight group that when you go to your local tournaments, you get to see the same people and you get to catch up with people from other cities and countries. So it's nice that disc golf hasn't lost that sense of community that you would have had back then.
Yeah, well, I would say yes and no. I get asked about this all the time. People will say things which I think are, like, they say there's no such thing as a stupid question. I think this is a stupid question because people will say things like, how do we fix disc golf? And I'm like, what do you mean fix? Like, I've heard that all the time. How do we fix disc golf? I'm like, I was not aware disc golf was broken. Like, if you measured the sport on 20 different metrics, on everything from public recognition to children playing to touring players, prize money, like it doesn't matter. 19 of the 20 metrics, the sport's doing better now than it's ever done before. The sport's crushing. The only place where I would say that it is nowhere near, to me, the one area where it's not is the fact that the sense of community is not what it used to be. Even if it's still good now, it's not like the old days because we were so small. But we weren't just small.
Right.
We were outcasts. We were misfits. We were and I'm not saying everybody, but like grown up adults didn't play with toys in a park in the 70s, like unless you were kind of like very much counterculture. And so there was a very much like an us against the world mentality because nobody knew what we did. And the people that did know what we did, nobody understood why we did it except each other. So the only people that understood why we would get on a plane and fly across the country to a tournament where first place wouldn't even cover the cost of the airfare, like why would anybody do that? Like, well, we all understood because we all did it. Like nobody else could understand. Yeah. So there was definitely it felt like us against the world. And now it's better because we're not, no one's against us anymore. That's certainly better. But it brought us together, for sure.
And I guess that's the flip side of that coin, right? It may have lost its local community and that feeling of knowing everybody, but without growing the sport and getting more and more people into it, you can't have that local community feeling without growing the sport. It's a consequence of the growing, right?
Yeah, no, it's better now. Like I will never be the old guy that says back in my day it was better. Of course it wasn't better. It's better now than it's ever been. It's just, you can honestly say, but there was some things about it that were different. And that part is something that we'll never get back because we are bigger and we are becoming, if we're not mainstream now, we're pretty damn close. And but we fought really hard to get to here. It's not like we were fighting against this happening. We were all fighting to get to a place where children were allowed to go out and play disc golf, and their parents weren't scared for them. And when we tried to put a course in the ground, there were like neighbors didn't show up to city council meetings with torches and pitchforks screaming we were going to destroy their park. I mean, we worked really hard for that to change. So it's all good changes, but there was something about the way it used to be that was special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kind of jumping forward a bit there on the evolution of the game, I just wanted to kind of bring it full circle back to current day. Mm-hmm. Actually, the reason why we wanted to get you on the podcast in the first place was because that you were scheduled this weekend or this weekend, you were scheduled to come up to Canada to play in the TCO, the Tournament Capital Open. Unfortunately, things happened. It wasn't meant to be this year, but we just wanted to kind of bring it back up here and say, when we were doing our research, we noticed that as far as we could tell, the last time that you actually played a tournament up here was back in 1987 when you were part of Disc Golf Worlds in Toronto, which is the only time that it's been held in Canada. Do you remember about that experience? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I absolutely. So first off, that's not entirely true. I played several times in Canada in 93 and 94.
Okay.
In the St. Thomas once or twice. So I have played since, but no. In 80,
were they sanctioned events or was that casual rounds?
No. These are sanctioned events. I think the Flats Classic, the year I won, was an A tier.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, 93 or 94. It was in St. Thomas. Bob Harris ran the event. That was Greg Pinniger and Walton's home course. Doniolo, not Doniolo. I can't remember his name, but anyways. So 87 Worlds. So a couple things were special about 87 Worlds. First off, it was the first time that we were outside the U.S. We were playing on two courses, and I don't know if it's the first time the World Championships had two courses, but it wasn't long after because you didn't need a second course for a long time. So like, oh my God, we need two courses because there's more than 72 players. The
right.
What was wild was we. You played on an island, so you played on Toronto Island, and you had to take a ferry out. So these are some of the memories from the tournament. Yeah. You had to take a ferry out in the morning to, and if you took the ferry, you would get to the disc golf course like an hour before, plenty of time to warm up, and that's the ferry everybody would take. If you missed that ferry, you had to get on the next ferry, which left like 30 minutes later or 40 minutes later, but it took you to the far side of the island 20 minutes before your tee time, and you had a mile walk to the course. So it was great. So everything was like 5 or 6 people that missed the first ferry. They would take the second ferry and have to like jog a mile first thing in the morning. That'd be further around to get to their tee time with like 2 minutes to spare. It was probably so that was Greg Hosfeld won. It was the first time I believe the World Championships were settled in sudden death. I don't think that happened again until Ricky and Paul did that in Oregon. It went to 4 holes to sudden death, and I watched the whole thing. Hosfeld made 2 putts from like 35 or 40 feet back on baskets that's like, those are like 60-foot putts. Back, like imagine 60-foot putts in today's game. That was the equivalent of making a 35, 40-foot putt back on those baskets. Poor Mike Sullivan. I mean, he lived on the island. He was Canadian. For all intents and purposes, he won the tournament. And then Greg just threw in these 2 monster putts to go to sudden death. And then on the last hole, on like a 200-foot hole, Mike threw it like 15 feet long and just hit kind of high left and kicked out. And Hosfeld won. So. Those are the biggest memories. I finished 20th, so I didn't necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's.
Well,
It's fine. I was a kid, but still, I was not happy. I wanted to win.
Yeah. Well, we actually have an interesting fact about you finishing 20th. I don't know if you remember, but back we did our semi research.
Yeah.
Back when you finished 20th, you earned $185 for finishing 20th. And just to put that in perspective, bringing it back to evolving the game, Jacob Semerad and Chris Clemens were tied for 20th last year, and they both took home $1,580, which is an 854% increase in 36 years. So make of that what you will.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, it was, and actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I never finished outside the top 10 again up until when I played 2 years ago back, because, now I'm elderly, a little bit different. But I was, I think I finished 17th, 10th, 17th. I think I was out, I think a 17th and a 10th or something like that. And then I never finished outside the top 5 after those 3. So, yeah, times changed.
Right.
I got pretty good.
Yeah. Well, also, yeah, you did for sure. And Scott, too, back then, wasn't it as well? Like, that was when Worlds was 7 days. Like, how did you get through a tournament that was 7 days long?
Okay, so, no, it wasn't 7. It was 5. It was.
Oh, it was only 5? Okay, I thought there was.
No, you would play Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 2 rounds a day, which is 8 rounds. And then you'd play the semifinals, which would be Saturday morning, which is the round, and then you play a 9-hole final. So it was 9.5 rounds, assuming you made it to the finals. So first off, you got to remember back then, it was basically every course was just approach and putt. I would say in the championships, 90+% of the holes I could reach with a mid range or a putter. I mean, it was. Like, it wasn't, it was just a different game. It's like, there's the basket, throw to it. I mean, the sudden death hole that Mike Sullivan lost on was probably, it might have been like 180 feet, and it was just throw around at one bush. Like, that was just
Gotcha.
It's just a different game. They didn't value driving. It was all about putting in well, they called it drives because technically you're driving because you're on a tee pad, but for all intents and purposes, they were approach shots. They were little chip shots most of the holes. So it wasn't exactly tiring to play 2 rounds of golf. Like, you didn't really have to throw hard very much.
Yeah.
There was a course.
Fair enough.
At the World Championships in Indiana, and this is all the way in '96. So this is like pretty far into the sport's history at this point. There was a course that was, I believe, 4,600 feet. So an average length of like 260 feet per hole. That was average. So you can imagine there was a lot of 200-foot holes on that course because there were a couple holes 300, right? So there were like 200-foot holes. And like I said, it was just a different, it was not today's game by any, like, it was a different game.
It just shows how much the sport has evolved. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think even too, Scott, would you say that like there was involvement in the discs and how they flew or in the way that people were throwing them and that kind of thing? Or were you always throwing big distance even from back in those days?
Yeah. I mean, back then in the 90s, I mean, I threw backhands easily 100 feet farther than the second farthest thrower on tour, and I threw sidearms probably 150 feet farther than any other player on tour. I mean, not an exaggeration. I mean, it was just different. Nobody had power back then. I mean, there were power players, but it was still we were playing 2 different. Well, it wasn't even close. Which didn't do me a damn bit of good. Throwing 500 feet with this, I could throw these are like speed 7 discs, and I could throw them 500 feet, which are basically like mid ranges. I could throw them, So picture Anthony Barella, and then picture Anthony Barella. Even if he had speed 7 discs, is still going to just rip them, and then everyone else throwing, 350 feet. It doesn't do you a damn bit of good when the holes are 350 feet, though. It was a
no, not at all.
But
yeah, well, and Scott, the other thing too, kind of on the Canadian side, as we touch a little bit, when you were going to be up here in Kamloops, you were going to kind of touch base and meet with Carver Whitford, we understood, and maybe you guys were going to do some clinics together?
Yeah. I don't know about together, but I was going to meet with him. Yeah, I'm Carver's biggest fan. I actually have plans for him. Well, I guess if he watches the podcast, he'll hear it. But I think he's got an incredible future in this game. I don't look at anybody's future. So the way I look at this, when I look at young players, I don't look at any young player and think, oh, you have an incredible future as a player, because that's so hit or miss. I mean, no matter, even if you're like the amazing 16-year-old kid ever, I mean, we know this from every other sport. It doesn't matter if it's hockey or football. The best 17-year-old prospect in the world, it's still pretty random as to whether or not they pan out as a top pro. Like there's like nobody can accurately predict this, or else people would be a lot better at drafting players, right? So I don't look at young players and their future. I never look at their future as a player. I look at that as maybe they become a top successful player, but more important, can they have a career in this sport? And do you have to lay bricks for a living or sit behind in a cubicle in middle management? And I'm not knocking anybody that like works, gets up every morning, goes to work, feeds their family, pays their bills. I'm not cracking on anybody. I'm just saying that if you're one of the people who's lucky enough to not have to do that because you've just been given this gift that you've worked hard to perfect, can you make a career out of this because you have this opportunity to not have to do that life? And so when I look at Carver, I think, wow, the sky's the limit for this kid as a player. I give two rats ass about that. What I care about is, does Carver get to do disc golf for a life? And because you can have a hell of a life in this sport, regardless of whether or not you're Gannon Burr. That's not the only way to make it,
Yeah.
So, I look at that. So I got big plans for him because I think he's got a future. He has a massive future in this sport. He can be a rock star in this sport. So,
yeah,
I got plans.
Well, we know, Scott, too. We see with Carver there is we'll be checking out. We follow a lot of the Canadian disc golf clubs and at his club, what they do is whoever wins league night gets like a championship belt, like a wrestling belt. You've probably seen that too. And more often than not, every week you see a post, Carver's holding that belt up. He's got it again for another week. Yeah,
no, it doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I mean, he's a 980. I think his rating went up to 980. I even follow his rating updates. He's like a 987 17-year-old, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's like this is the thing about sports. It's really, really good to be 987 and 17 years old. But he's in a club with hundreds of other kids that are around that rating. I mean, it's amazing. But there's a lot of really talented 17-year-olds, and there's no way to predict what happens at 18, 19, or 20. So I just don't.
Right.
If you happen to break out, hey, good. If you happen to be Gannonburg, good for you. But everyone said that they saw Gannonburg coming. It's like, yeah, that's hindsight, right? There's 50 other Gannonburgs that they saw coming you've never heard of. So, like I said, I don't care about that. I care about what his future, what his life is going to be like. And can he do disc golf as a life? And then if he happens to make it a superstar on the Pro Tour, then, hey, bonus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Talking about where do you see him develop as a player and a person in disc golf in the career? And the fact that he is Canadian. I know I've seen you mention a few times about how that you just like to give back and that you want to grow the sport, whether it be in America, whether it be in Canada, Europe, or in other countries that don't even have disc golf right now. Looking at it from where you are and keeping an eye on Carver, do you kind of keep one eye on the progress of disc golf in Canada and kind of see where the future could go with disc golf up here?
Yeah, I mean, so Canada's, it's going to go the same place it is in the U.S. or Finland or anywhere else. I do keep an eye on Carver, and probably the biggest reason I keep an eye on Carver is that I really like the kid. I really like his dad. You know, like I don't care how good he was. If he was a shit kid, I wouldn't care. Like I wouldn't be interested. But he's a cool kid. He's a cool kid from a cool family. That is someone that I want to have in my life. That's you know, big, like me, that's a big part of it is, you know, I want to invest my time into people that add value to my life, and you know, I believe they do. As far as disc golf in Canada, I mean, I don't see it as any really different in the U.S. It's a smaller population, so it's just, you know, all of Canada is like, isn't it less than California, the population, or something like that? It's
Yep.
So,
you are correct.
So there's nothing. It's not. You know, Canada is, I think, right going alongside with the U.S. It's just like, you know, like it's, you know, you have a, you know, like Thomas Gilbert. I mean, you know, you're the size of a big U.S. state, and you have like I think 3 players on the tour right now, right? 2 FTO players and Thomas. So, like, I mean, you're pretty much on pace, like with the U.S., just smaller population is all. So, yeah, I mean, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm one of the people to think of Canada kind of like just another like North American state, because I mean, we're a lot more similar than different, except for that silly accent you guys have. But aside from the silly accent,
it's probably, you know, the popularity of disc golf up in Canada is probably where it was in America probably 20 years ago. So we just need to catch up and spread the word more and get more people out playing in different areas of Canada, and then we can, you know, get more of those pros on the tour.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just like, so the thing is, like, the gauge on the success of the sport has nothing to do with the pro tour. Like, that's one of the things that just like, it's like almost a pet peeve of mine when someone's like, when they talk about the problem of disc golf is that like the disc golf pro tour is like the prize money compared to like the PGA tour. And I'm like, like, don't misunderstand. I want the kids on tour to make gajillions of dollars and date supermodels and, like, you know, have TMZ. like I want all this stuff for them too. But there's 15 million people playing disc golf, and there's like 100 people on tour. The success of the tour is not, like, that's completely independent from the rest of the sport. I mean, if people in Canada are playing and courses are going in the ground and there's leagues and there's clubs and there's tournaments and activity in schools and kids and women, and like, that's what matters. And so don't gauge your success by like, oh, do we have a pro tour event? Oh, do we have a top touring player? I mean, you have 3 players on tour. That's fine. Like, that's not the metric. The metric is, are people playing and is it growing? And if people are enjoying the game, that's 99.9% of the sport. The tour is like this big. The tour isn't the sport. The tour is the tour.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, bringing it back to us, we're only amateurs. We enjoy the sport, and then it turned into us getting on a podcast and interviewing you. So, I mean, you know, we're not competing on the tour, and we're still having fun. So,
yeah. Well, and the other thing too, and with it as well, Scott, is what we'll do is we felt that the Canadian market was missing that same type of coverage and that conversation. And we found that a lot of people do focus on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So that's where we kind of come back and say, well, what about the people who are playing in our local area? What about the people who are playing in Canada in our Canadian A-tier tournaments? Let's get to know them. Let's put some support behind them and show that we have a great product here and it's growing as well.
Absolutely. And it's great. And, you know, like, what you're doing is fantastic. And like, it's like disc golf is growing everywhere. Basically, like when I'm traveling around the country around the world, everywhere is basically somewhere on the timeline of the US or Finland, you know, and it doesn't matter what you are. Like, New Zealand is disc golf in the, you know, or New Zealand, Australia is like disc golf in the US in the 90s, you know, and you know, Denmark and Sweden is like disc golf in the US in the 2000s. And so the UK is like disc golf in the US in the 80s. Everyone's on a timeline and going the same direction. I mean, this is going to be the biggest sport in the world. I mean, it's there's nothing stopping it from happening. So you know, it's all coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We like it or not.
Well, that's great. And Scott, thanks for giving us a little bit of touch on Canada there, but we also kind of wanted to get and talk and make sure we give some air. Like, you've always got things going on, but it feels like in this last little week here, you've got more than enough, like even more things happening. So we saw that maybe you participated in a little glitch world qualifier tournament and had a good time doing that recently.
Yeah, it was fun. So yeah, there was a qualifier for the Glitch World Championships. I won, which is like it's still fun to go out and win, an open tournament. So I get to go compete in the Glitch World Championships this fall in Maple Hill, Massachusetts, and I plan.
Oh.
I have every intention on winning. So.
That's awesome. We've seen that you were like, I caught the 4-hole playoff live that you did with the other Scott, the 1T.
I felt bad because he's so good. By the way, he was older. I'm usually like playing against like I was the younger of the two people in the playoff. How about that? In MPF. So like let's for the old guys, and the old guys represented that day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know you mentioned it. You kind of, I know you felt bad. You kind of had to ask him like whether if he actually won, whether he was actually going to go, and he said that he had to give it some consideration. So the fact that you were going to go no matter what, it seems kind of fitting that you're going to go there. And we watched the event last year, and there's a few people that you're going to have to look out for, but we have faith in you as well.
I'll beat all of them. I'm not worried.
Yeah.
I mean, glitch is a frisbee. There's no way. In my mind, there's no way like a disc golfer can beat me with a frisbee.
That's right. Just the amount of experience you have with one, right?
Imagine anybody in the world beating me with a non-beveled disc. I just can't even wrap my head around that happening. Now, I'm not saying it's that I'm going to win. I'm just saying I don't see how I could lose. How about that?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Well, we're excited for that. We'll be watching it for sure come this fall.
Yeah,
and then something else that you posted and mentioned on social media this week, and we have to give you some applause for this one right here, is that you're actually being inducted into the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame.
Yeah, no, it's true. I got the word. Actually, I got the word a month ago, but I had to keep my mouth shut. I was driving I was doing a 2-day class for a small group of players up in Lake Tahoe. And I got the phone call. I was actually sitting in my car eating ice cream when I got the call from George Sappenfield, the person that talked Ed Hedrick into introducing disc golf, and then Andy Lemon. Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's something I've been waiting for a number of years. It was probably my last accomplishment in some ways. All right. I mean, I had big plans on what I'm going to be doing, but it's kind of like the last thing that I had set out to do. I'd set out to win the World Distance Championships, which I won. I won a bunch of times. I set out to set the world records, all the back end and sidearm distance world records, which I did. I set out to win the Pro World Disc Golf Championships, which I did not do. I finished second place twice. I've had to, accept that. I mean, I'm going to Worlds this year, so I could still win. But, I wasn't able to accomplish every single thing I set out to do, but I accomplished most. And then, the fame was kind of the last one. Not the last one, because I plan on winning Worlds, but if I don't win Worlds, that was kind of the last one. So,
well, you say that's kind of one of the last things that you wanted to accomplish. There's two things I wanted to say. One, I just wanted to touch on your Guinness World Records and your longest drive that you held, both sidearm and forehand. Sorry, sidearm and backhand. But you're the only person to hold them simultaneously, so going to give you some congratulations for holding them both at the same time. But also, I watched your recent YouTube video as well, where you went a bit more in depth into your Hall of Fame acknowledgement there, and you mentioned that it seemed like it came at the wrong time, because this is supposed to happen at the end of your career. But when you say that you've achieved everything that you set out to achieve, but then on the other flip side, you say that really you're only halfway through your disc golf career, if you want to call it that. So you've got so much more to give away, or to give back to the sport as well.
Yeah. So basically, there's I've been doing a lot of things for years now, giving a lot of my time, and if you follow me, like I've donated all of my prize money, my tournament prize money for the last 4 years to special needs organizations or disc golf in developing countries, and I've done now 289 disc golf classes for kids and adults with special needs. Those are always free. So I've done a lot of stuff to, give, promoting other disc sports on my channels, and I've been able to do a lot with a relatively small amount of money, like on the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's not, it's not nothing, but it's, on the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. And
yeah,
it's been very important to me to do this. The three things I've wanted to do are that I care most about are bringing disc golf to people that don't fit into the normal mold of traditional disc golfers who can play normal disc golf courses, and that's people with physical or developmental disabilities. And those are two different groups of people, because that's just two completely different worlds, but they have different sets of challenges to bring the game to them. I want it. That's a big part of what I do. The second thing is I want to bring disc golf to all the countries on Earth that don't either don't have disc golf or barely have disc golf. And I don't mean just putting courses in the ground. I have a plan that is going to, and I'll be laying this out over the next months and years, but I have a plan how to do this, how we can bring disc golf and make it global. And it's a good plan, a plan that'll work. And I want to promote disc sports not named disc golf and ultimate. There's all these small sports that are either dying or there's a risk of them kind of dying. And there's also, there needs to be promotion of new sports, because that's what disc sports is all about. So anyway, these are the three things that I want to do. And I was doing quite well traveling around the world, teaching disc golf, making plenty of money to live and being happy with a pretty easy life. And the thing is I didn't make enough money to do these big projects I want to do. At least not at the scale I want to do them. And so when when I started Stokely Discs, my disc company, the biggest reason why I've taken this on is because if I can build this wildly successful, financially successful company, which I'm pretty sure I can, this is my world, that's going to give me a shit ton of disposable income to pursue the projects I want to pursue.
Yeah.
I like money, but I don't care about money. I give away whatever I don't need. Like, I don't care about having extra money. I care about living the life I want to live. I live a nice life. I do the stuff I want to do. I travel. I stay at hotels, not on people's floors anymore. But everything left over, I give away. I don't care about extra money. If I can make a lot of extra money, I can do these things. And this is where my heart is right now. This is what my passion is make this company successful so I can have disposable income to pursue those three projects. And that's what I plan doing for the second half of my life. Maybe not the second half.
Yeah.
I'm 54, so maybe not the second half, but like the second half of my career. That's where everything is to me. Like, just,
And I heard you mention that you get kind of annoyed when people say that you live this altruistic lifestyle, and you said that's not the case.
No.
You take what you need and you make sure that you're happy and everyone that you care for is taken care of. But as you mentioned right in the beginning, that you and your partner have everything you need in the world that you can fit in a backpack. Like the expenditure that you have left over, that money that you can give away, is just so much greater when you live that minimal lifestyle, and you're happy and everything is good. It just affords you more ability to do those things that you enjoy as well.
Yeah,
and then
it
you
is.
mentioned about the discs. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No. And this is, and I like to be very clear about this, because I appreciate praise. I like compliments. I'm human. It makes me feel good when people say they look up to me, they're proud of me, they admire what I do. I just don't want to be praised for things I don't do. I want to be praised for what I do, which I'm proud of. But when someone anoints me to this level that I don't deserve, it's like, no, wait, back off. Let's slow down here a minute. I'm not, I'm not a monk. When I came back to the sport in 2013, I was traveling around the country, and I was scraping together change in gas station, to eat at gas stations, teaching these free special needs classes all over the country. It was a very, very much an altruistic lifestyle, which I did for a little bit. I wasn't taking donations. I wouldn't accept money from anybody. I did do that for a little while. I'm not doing that anymore. Now I stay at hotels. I go out and I eat good meals, and I travel places I want to travel. So I'm absolutely 100% taking care of me first, and me and my partner. But like you said, if you gave me $1 billion, nothing would change about how I live my life. It's not like I'm going to go buy a house or a boat. I'm never going to not travel. I'm not going to I'm not going to pay $100 for a steak when a $20 steak's just as good. I've pretty much capped them. I can't spend any more money on me, because I'm already doing everything I can, everything I want. So now, if I make more money, it just is extra money. But I'm not. That's not what altruism is. At least not my version of it. Altruism is taking food off your own plate to give to somebody else. It's like, no, I'm eating first, so don't.
Yeah.
don't raise it too high.
We have a kind of a shout out in the chat here, and it kind of ties into our next thing that we wanted to talk to you about. Is we have Brendan McKinstry in the chat. He's a local disc golf store owner, and he just wanted to give you a shout out for pushing people to buy discs locally and not from retailers. Just over making money for yourself, just push it locally, because that's what's going to grow the sport. And then while we're talking about purchasing discs locally, we may as well, and you already touched on it, that you have your own line of discs, that Stokely Discs brand, which, again, like you said, you want that business to grow. You want it to make lots of money, not to have a big bank account, but just the more that discs you can sell, more discs you can get out there, and it's going to give you more money to do the things that you love. So why don't you just touch? I mean, you've got your own line of discs. You've got 3 discs out right now.
Well, 2 and 1 coming out. Yeah, and I want to touch on this buy local thing, because this is a big part of what I'm trying to do. So for the majority of the life of our sport, the sport has grown on the back of volunteers. I mean, literally millions of volunteer hours in total probably have gone into growing this sport. Everything from installing disc golf courses to running events, leagues. Like, the volunteers have been the backbone of the sport. But in the last 10 years, especially, it's the volunteers still, but it's also the entrepreneurs. And the entrepreneurs are the key to the sport. I'm a big believer in free market capitalism and what that does. With all the love of the sport in the world, nothing's going to grow the sport faster than people who are like, ooh, I can make money doing this. Right? That's not a bad thing. Right. It's not in my eyes. It's a fantastic thing, because it results in growing the sport. It's very important for me, I want to change the culture of the sport, and because it's people need to be shopping locally, because look, there's nothing. Like, with all these grand plans I have, there's no way that I will be doing anywhere near as much to grow disc golf in Edmonton as the local pro shop owners, local vendors, or local clubs. Those are the people growing the
Right,
sport.
100%.
So if you're in Edmonton and you buy directly from me, you're shooting yourself in your foot. You're doing what's not in your own best interest. You need to shop at your local pro shop and keep these people in business, because the pro shop is also thinking, hey, if we put in our course in, we're going to sell more discs and make more money.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That results in the course going in the ground. If the pro shop goes out of business, that you may not get a course in that park.
Right.
And no retailer is not going to sell direct. And by the way, myself included, I mean, most places don't have access to my discs. Of course, I'm going to sell direct. You have to sell direct. You're a business. You got to keep the lights on, and you want to succeed. Yeah. So we're not going to convince manufacturers and distributors not to sell direct, because the margins are so good, and they're not wrong. They're running a business. This is also free market capitalism. They're running a business as well, being successful. I'm not knocking any of the manufacturers for selling direct, myself included. What I'm saying is I want to help change the culture of the sport and get people to recognize that they need to shop local, because it's in their own best interest to do so. And that's a big push for me, is to I will be promoting that. Yeah. So I got big plans on that front to make a massive shop local campaign. By the way, I've wanted to say this for years, but when I'm not a manufacturer, I felt like I'm talking out the side of my mouth, because it's easy to say when I'm not the one who's turning down, losing money by not selling direct. Now that I'm a manufacturer, I can now, without being a hypocrite, tell people, buy local, don't buy directly from me. If there's a place in town that sells my discs. If no one in town sells my discs, go to my website, buy my discs. I want your money. Of course.
There you go.
Obviously. But if by the way, if you're in a town that doesn't sell my discs, yes, you can buy from me direct, but it'd even be better. Go to your local store and tell that store, hey, if you carry Stokely discs, I will buy them from your store.
Yes.
Let people know that I'm encouraging you to buy from the store. And then hopefully the store will carry my discs, and then you guys can all shop at the store. That's what needs to happen. It's very important to our sports growth that needs to change.
Yeah. And we've seen that locally too, Scott, as you say, whether it's Brendan with BR Disc Golf, or we have another gentleman, Wildman Disc Golf, and we have Limber Disc Golf. These are these stores there, and we've all recognized JK Discs, all of these guys that we're putting our money behind them. We're trying to support them as much as we can, because we, as you said, that's what's going to keep the sport growing. If we get more courses in the ground, then we get more people out playing, and it just continues to help develop it and start to hit some of those goals that you're going after as well, and trying to help evolve disc golf.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing. By the way, I do this with every business too. Like you'll be very hard pressed to ever find me at an Applebee's or a Chili's or a chain restaurant, right? Not because they don't have good food. I'm sorry, like if you think they don't make good food at Applebee's or Chili's, you're out of your mind. They make great food. It tastes wonderful, and it's a good price. But if you want to spend like $2 more, you can actually give your money to some person running a business trying to pay their mortgage, as opposed to some multinational corporation that doesn't give two shits about their restaurant chain because it's one of 80 businesses in their portfolio. Like, who cares about those people? Screw those people. Give money to the people that are trying to run their restaurant. And I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Fair enough. Well, and I guess, Scott, we should make sure, we want to make sure we're getting.
Here's my rule, by the way. I got this great rule. Check this out. Because I understand that it's also in the real world. If you save money, you also got to balance that against your own income, right? Mm-hmm. So here's my rule. You're allowed to shop at Walmart. Okay, hear me out.
Okay.
It's okay to shop at Walmart as long as when you're in Walmart, you're pissed off over the fact that you're shopping at Walmart. As long as it makes you mad, it's like, damn it, I don't want to be here, but I'd rather pay $3 for a hammer instead of 23. Then it's okay. As long as you're not happy about it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's stupid.
That's awesome.
No, I like that. That's great, Scott. I guess while we're talking about it, so people know what they're going out to buy there at the local disc golf store. You've got a Ren out, which is a putt approach disc. You've got a Cardinal mid range, and then you got an Owl coming out as well. So we got a bird theme happening here. And then I'm sure, do you have more discs in the works as well?
Oh yeah, I actually have I have a number of additional discs literally in production right now. So no, this is full steam ahead. This is not a little fly by night company. We're not like making 2 discs, trying to save up the money to buy a third. We have like we have everything in place. We're going to be a major. I have a partner, but we're going to be a major company with a complete full lineup of discs here. We just have to release them a disc every 3 months because that's just the way the market works. Right. You got to build hype around each new disc, and that's just the way it is. I mean, that's just the best. I mean, in my opinion, the best approach. So we can't just release everything at once. But yeah, no, this is not like I have all the investment, everything I need to make this an absolute major player in this sport, and I will be for sure.
Yeah, and what other better way than to promote your disc than to get them in the hands of a sponsored player, right? So you've got Dallas Garber is your first sponsored player.
Yes, Dallas Garber is my first sponsored player. I have others on. Yeah, Dallas is amazing. Him and his family. He's a kid, but his whole family. I love his family. I love him. He's not the only one. I got other people in the works. There's actually 3 players with open bags on tour that are throwing the Cardinal right now. There's 3 of them on tour throwing the Cardinal. I just haven't announced them yet.
Is one of them by chance the second best sidearm thrower on the tour?
He might be. He might be. Yeah, Chandler Kramer, the second best sidearmer on tour. Well, actually, no. I'm sick right now, so I'm out for health reasons. For not related to throwing. Related to aging. So right now he's the best sidearm thrower on tour until Des Moines. Yeah, no, that Chandler's the best. I love that kid. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. And by the way, just so you know, I want to be clear too, just because I don't want you to like I'm a big fan of free market capitalism. I have every intention of putting every other disc company out of business. I'm going to bury all of them. But just because I'm a free market capitalist who's going to put every other disc company out of business, I want everybody to know that all of the owners of those companies, I'm going to let them all come work for me.
Oh, that's so kind of you.
You do have.
Well, that's how I roll. No. Don't get the wrong idea. I mean, they're going to start sweeping the warehouse floor like everybody else. But with their ambition and experience, I expect them to be in middle management within a few years.
Yeah. So they can start bringing their lines and their discs over. Maybe there'll be some room in the Stokely disc line. Maybe there's something in there. You can put a Stokely Universe stamp on one of those discs, maybe spruce it up a little bit for them, that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I'll buy their companies and then just bury all their molds because I'll do like the other big companies. I'll buy out the competition and just bury them. But yeah, they're all going to work for me. They just don't know it yet.
Yeah, it's inevitable.
There you go. Well, Scott, we're going to start to get ready to wrap it up a little bit with you, but we do want to shout out a few things here and make sure everybody knows. You mentioned it earlier that you've got a book out there, Growing Up Disc Golf, that came out in 2020, and we can see that that's available on Amazon up here for $26 Canadian, which sounds like a great deal there.
And Audible, because I read the audiobook myself. It's pretty good.
That's good. That's one big thing, because I'm a big audiobook listener, and one of the things that I like when I listen to an autobiography, if it's read by the person that wrote it. So that's a win in my book.
No, so check this out. Okay, so I was going to be terrible at this, and I tried reading it, and I listened to the recording, and I was like, it sucks. It's so bad. And no, I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm just objective. And like, it was when I did the reading, I just did some, sample reads, and it was absolutely awful. And I said, I was told, no, you got to get with a real audio engineer. And I spent 2 weeks to read that. So I basically read like 12 pages a day.
Okay.
Right, which is crazy, but it would take. I would spend all day on just 12 pages of reading it, and after I read it and listened to the recording, I was like, "Yeah, it still sucks."
Oh.
Like it wasn't terrible. It wasn't good. I'm like, I go, we can't put this out. That just doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, we're not putting this." He goes, I need a month." And then he went to work and he did magic on it.
Yeah. Wow.
And basically, he got rid of noises. He changed the pacing, the timing. He put the right gaps in between sentences, between paragraphs. Like basically, he did what he's supposed to do. And when you listen to the audiobook now, like I honest to God, I'll give it like a solid B plus.
Yeah.
But was maybe at best a C minus. My reading of it, like it was. Close to maybe average, but probably a little below average. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
And now it's really good. And he did all the work. And then everybody gives me all the credit, which is cool.
Yeah.
Basically, he put the
So,
Instagram filter on the audio. That's what he did.
yeah, basically, he made it sound good. So I would encourage you to check out the audiobook because I do think it actually reads very, very well. I just, that's not because of me. It's because of the audio engineer. He was a master. So he made me look really good.
And Scott, when everybody's done listening or reading the book, then they can go and they can watch your documentary, not just a shot, and about kind of, as you said, the starting part of your career and getting to that big, huge shot at the OTB Skins tournament. So we want everybody to know there's even more out there you can see about Scott.
Yeah, not just a shot.com. It's a documentary. It's been winning awards at film festivals all over the country. Not all over the country. It won an award at a film festival in Greece. We didn't get to go. It won Best Director of a Documentary Feature at multiple film festivals. I was not the director, so I'm not taking any credit for this. I wrote it and narrated it, but it was not. He's like, I'm not the director, so I technically haven't won any awards for it. He did. The name's Andrew Mueller, and he's an absolute master at his craft. He did something really special, and we have we're I guess we're basically going to be announcing this, but it's actually it just got picked up by Amazon Prime.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah,
that's
so
great.
it's going to be
Awesome.
yeah, it's going to be because Amazon Prime, you can't like just upload a documentary to Amazon Prime because there's like only 1 million documentaries on YouTube. Everybody would be uploading documentaries to Amazon Prime.
Right.
But now it's on IMDb and it's won all these awards. They've allowed it to be part of their library. So there's a couple like audio and a couple things they need to do to make it work. Because they have very high technical standards. As good as it is, there's specific technical standards. So we're just matching those up, and then we're going to be releasing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, right?
Yeah,
it's neat.
That's really
cool. I think
cool.
it's the first disc golf streaming service. No, okay. It's the first disc golf project on a major streaming service. So, awesome. And I think it showcases everybody that watches it will be super happy.
That's great. And is it true too, Scott? Is Kendra still kind of following you around, and are you guys working on some more things right now?
No. So he went back. So I had to tour because of these health reasons. It's kind of in the works. As far as like not competing, I'm just doing clinics every day. And he also had something come up where he was going to have to leave this fall. So we put on that.
Nice.
Gotcha.
Scott, I'm going to ask you one big favor.
Did it?
I'm going to ask you a really big favor. Can you sit by the basket again? Because we had perfect audio when you were sitting by the basket. It's when you're moving around.
Yes, I noticed that as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
I know.
Yeah.
Connecting.
Maybe T-Mobile is using the basket to launch up and get that good service for us.
See.
Yeah.
Let's see if this helps. Let's see if I can connect it to the basket now. No, I think we lost again.
No,
we've got you right now. We've got you good.
Okay.
So as we wrap up there too, the one last thing I wanted to mention there, Scott, and we kind of talked a little bit about it in there, but I want everybody to go to your website. I want them to see what you're doing with Blue Power Disc Golf, adaptive disc golf, how you're helping individuals with different needs access the sport, and everything you're doing with that is amazing. And we just want to make sure you've mentioned it, but we want to say it out here and get everybody checking that out too, because that's amazing work that you're doing there.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I want disc golf to be for everybody. And the thing about disc golf, just traditional disc golf in the US and in Canada. They're playing. They're throwing the basket. So disc golf.
We had pretty good audio when you were over on the bench as well.
All right, disc golf in the U.S. and Canada and Europe don't need me. I mean, that's just a fact. The sport's so strong right now, and if I disappeared tomorrow, the sport doesn't miss a beat. So to me, it's about like who needs me, and people with disabilities, developmental or physical, people in other countries and other disc sports all need me. So that's where I'm going. So I just try to make sure that the sport gets to all people that might not get it to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, Jeremy, do you want to do your famous link?
My famous link? Well, this is the last one I got here before we let you go, Scott, is, with all these travels you've doing, you've probably gone to a lot of different islands, I'm sure. And really, it kind of leads us into one of these things that happens on our program towards the end that has to do with ending up on an island. Hey, Daryl?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's a bit of a staple on our show, Scott. I'm just going to play you the intro and then I'll give you some explanation.
I value your opinion.
Oops.
But you're wrong.
Not that one.
Not that one. That was the wrong one. I pushed the wrong button.
Now it's time for Desert Island Discs. Okay. Picture this. You've taken a relaxing cruise. However, the ship goes down. You manage to swim to an island. And fortunately for you, there's an 18-hole disc golf course. Which 3 discs are you taking with you on the island?
So this is the part of the show. We like to wrap it up here. We like to end it with your Desert Island Discs is a section that we're calling it. You have to pick 3 discs that you had, if you only had to have 3 that you could take on an island. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say I'm going to ban the cardinal, the wren, and the owl, because I think that would be a too easy of a pick for you. But if you had to spend the rest of your life playing with only 3 discs, which ones would you pick?
Okay, so by the way, you are correct. I would have chose the wren, cardinal, and owl because very, very good marketing.
Because they're the best discs out there.
So it'd be the Berg for sure. Obviously, the Berg. Here, okay, you know what? I'm going to go with. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you. We got the Berg.
Yes, it's reconnecting. I'm going to go with an understable K3 Berg, a stable K1 Berg, and an overstable Berg X. How about that?
I love it.
You got right to Daryl's heart there, Scott. That's right up his alley.
It's always a Berg.
Yeah, no, I just, yeah, I mean, I just had to play on an island. It's probably not a big island, I'm guessing if it's. And yeah, I'm gonna go Bird. You just can't improve upon the Bird. Perfect. By the way, I'm looking over here because they're throwing to the.
Seeing as you seem,
I was literally they're throwing to the hole.
you seem to be just as big as a Berg fan as I am. Can you give me some insight on why the Berg gets so much hate out there on the internet right now?
Because people are jealous. It's a cheater. Throw it in this land the basket every single time. And I hate when it's so loved. Berg's bad. I'm on Team Berg, so you know.
Team Berg all the way.
Berg.
You know what you're getting with the Berg.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So if you can still hear us, Scott, we thank you very much for coming on the show. This is we've enjoyed having you on here. We just want to hand it over to you. If there's anything that we haven't mentioned tonight, we just want to throw it out to you and give you kind of the floor to let you shout out whatever you would like to shout out.
Yeah, I would say if you're go to disc.com. I'm happy to get your scores and carry my discs. And that's probably the biggest thing I'm putting out, because everything else is going to be based on what I'm able to finance with that. So it starts with that. I can make this company. And if you're a player, shop local.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Scott. We're so happy that you could be on the show with us, and we appreciate you working through the technical difficulties with us, and we can't wait to meet you in person one day.
Sorry about that. All right. Hey, I can't wait. Thanks, you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Right, bye.
Daryl, there you go. One of the big names in disc golf on Chain Out Podcast. And everybody who's listening live, they got the live version of it. We'll see what we get for the post version there. But that was awesome. He has so much history and so many positive things that he's doing or he wants to do. Like, you can just hear the genuine care that he has about the sport and how much is given to him. Hey.
Yeah, no, every question or every sort of topic we threw at him was, oh, you know what, I have big plans for this. He's, like he said, that he says that his disc golf career is coming to an end, or he's achieved everything that he wants to do. But then he goes on to say that, oh, I have this dream and I have this thing that I want to do in the future, and I have this that we're working on, and we're having this, and he's got so many things left that he still wants to do. And it all comes down to, like you said, supporting local, buy your disc local, buy his discs. Every disc that he sells is one more dollar that he can do the things that he wants to do with, which is benefiting disc golf in general anyway. So,
and with that as well, is any one of those three things that he wants to do is a monstrous task all by itself, but one's not enough. He's going to do all three.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And still play disc golf and still, sponsor people and still make YouTube videos and make tutorials on forum and things like that, and be inducted into the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame and like you
come
said,
on
just
the amazing Canadian disc golf podcast while playing a round of golf. Wow, it's just every little thing he's got going on. Hey, exactly. So many things.
But like you said about, we've interviewed people that have played. I'm pretty sure everybody that we've interviewed has been playing longer than us. But we've interviewed people that have been playing considerably longer than us. But then it takes it to the next level when you talk to somebody that was there pretty much at the founding game, the founding design of disc golf, right? Like, you talk to them about the history of the disc golf. Yeah. We're not talking 10 years ago, 20 years ago, like you said, 1986, I think, was when he first registered as a PDGA member anyway, I think. So, I mean, it's been over 40.
And I think he was playing years. Even into the 70s. That was when he was young. Now, I know with some of my research, I was a little off, so don't quote me on that one for sure. But that's what happens when you've got that much of a wealth of history. Like, how do you go through that many years of PDGA, right?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it was a podcast of firsts, and even Sonia in the chat there. We had a first time we ever had a guest actually on a disc golf course. I mean, that seems fitting for a disc golf podcast. First time we actually had somebody playing a round of disc golf while being interviewed, and the first time somebody getting a black ace on the podcast live. So, I mean, load of firsts on this episode.
There you go.
First time we actually had a caller call into the show.
That's true
For
too.
a little while we had it working, yeah.
Yeah. So we hope that you enjoyed this episode and you liked that content. And if you did, do us a favor, subscribe, like, comment, follow us on all of the audio platforms as well. Anything you can do like that will just help us out with this and continue to try and get some more of these big guests for you.
Hitting subscribe and commenting is just the same as buying discs local.
Yeah, for the podcast
world. The podcast. In the podcast world, if you want to help support local, leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, notify, share, all of the good stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So let's get back to where we kind of were right before. And what we were talking about was this wonderful new company out there called Discape.
Yeah. So we discovered them on Instagram. They reached out to us. We reached out to them, and we kind of came together and said, we like what you're doing. You're a brand new Canadian disc golf manufacturer. Let us have a look at some of your discs, and maybe we'll do a review. So they sent us some discs. And like I said earlier, that if you see us at Rundle League for the last 4 or 5 weeks, then chances are we've shoved these discs in your hand and said, throw these and let us know what you think.
Yes.
And now I will play the video that I was going to play earlier until you told me to stop.
That was right. And I was
we
so
did record
thankful
some
that
videos
you did
of
that.
some people throwing the discs. But, the consensus over the all 3 discs was they were awesome discs to throw. They threw, they flew. That's the word I'm looking for. They flew very true to the numbers. Everybody, I think it was a hands down across the board. Everybody liked the Aquarian, which was the putter.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one you got there. Yeah, the lovely Aquarian stamp on it. Everybody that threw it, it was a dead straight putter.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for a dead straight approach disc, that's the one to get. They're not PDGA approved currently. I spoke to Ned over at Discape. He was waiting to get a bit more feedback from, local players and just to see what the whole community was thinking of the discs. But they are going to apply for PDGA approval at some point. The mid-range, as you just showed there, I believe.
No, mid-range coming right up. That was still the
mid-range
Aquarian.
Here is the Skyterran.
Mm-hmm.
5502, I believe, are the numbers on the Skyterran.
5402.
Sorry, 5402. Maybe flies a little bit less stable than that, than the numbers suggest, but definitely for a beginner player, as Jeremy just demonstrates right there, that was a great throw.
Oh, thank you.
And then moving on to the Draconex, which is what Jeremy's throwing right now. It says -3-1, but Gabe Piska, who hosted the show last week, threw it, and it just goes to show you how much people know more about discs and things like that than us, because as soon as he had them in his hand, he was feeling them. He was feeling the parting line. He was feeling the dome, and he was like, I think this is more like a -2 than a -3, like just based on the feel in his hand alone.
Yes.
And then here we have Gavin Beamish, who was also on the show last week, and there you go. That's a rip with the Draconex right there, and that hole at Rundle is not an easy hole to play. I mean, we gave people new discs to try on a tight fairwayed course, or a tight fairwayed hole, and every day we went there, it was probably the windiest day that we'd ever seen. So we didn't make it easy for people to throw these discs and try them out, but conclusively across the board, everybody was saying that they were super happy with the discs. They would definitely consider bagging them. They enjoyed the discs, and but then also
well, I think maybe right before that, Daryl, the other thing I kind of wanted to say with it was when you're talking about Discape just as who they were as a company and such, I kind of had it in my notes as I'm getting here. One of the things that they were doing is that they have a goal of being a Canadian disc golf manufacturer. So the design is done in Canada. They're not currently manufactured there, but they want to make good discs. They want to make quality discs, and they want to make affordable discs is what they want to do. So that set that we've got there is called the Pioneer set. And not only did they give us this set of 3 that we could test and try out and that we could have everybody get their hands on. What else did they do for us, Daryl?
Well, when we reached out to them, they said, it'd be great if we could get you a set for everybody to try out. But also, we think it would be awesome if we could give you a set of 3 discs that we can give out to our listeners. So we have an unused set, even though the box may not suggest. These are unused. They are available for somebody to win. So we're going to do a giveaway.
And I think what you want to do is we're going to take that video that we just showed and we're going to probably post that one up onto our Instagram and onto our socials there. And when we do, we'll let you know exactly how you can get your hands on those discs and win them.
Yeah, exactly. We'll post it to our Instagram. We'll pin it to our profile, so it'll be there readily available for everybody. And we'll have the contest entry description or the rules for entry in the description. So look out for that on our Instagram, _podcast, if you don't already follow us over there.
And I think the last thing I want to say about the discs, just to give you an idea of how straight the Aquarian was going for me, is that I want to get out to Hermitage again and I want to get to Wally's Way.
Yeah.
And I bet you it'll be the first time in about, 2 months that I'll actually make it through all 3 Mandos.
You'll actually make all 3 Mandos. Yeah, it is a dead straight flyer. So
and then get them PDJ approved so that I can use them in tournaments.
Exactly. So yeah, big shout out to Discape. Thank you, Ned, and the other guys over there at Discape. We appreciate it, and we hope to work with you again in the future.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you think that's it, Daryl, about giving away prizes and stuff
Jeremy,
like that?
We're all about giving things away over here.
So not only are we going to be giving away that set of discs from Discape,
I feel like Scott Stokely's worn off on us. We just want to give stuff away now.
I thought it was gonna be like, you get a disc.
You get a disc. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so not only that Pioneer set, but we've been teasing that we're going to have a subscriber giveaway as well. And I think, what have we shown so far? We've shown the wooden disc from Kevin.
Yeah.
We've shown the BR Mini. Oh, those are minis. Sorry, minis.
Yeah. The wooden mini from Redhead Woodworking.
Yep.
A mini disc from BR.
We showed the first run Chain Out podcast hat.
As modeled by Jeremy.
We showed the Blurple sticker.
We did show the Blurple sticker, yeah.
And the second edition, the white sticker.
Second edition white only, yeah.
Yeah. And then what else did we have?
We can't be adding any more to this giveaway, Jeremy.
Of course we can.
Of course
we got more for this
giveaway. What else
giveaway.
are we going to give away?
Well, we have, a sponsor of Edga. Well, I was lucky enough at Bailey's event to get some things.
Yeah.
And what we've got is we've got a Sea Change koozie here for your cans and your bottles in the summer.
Good for the summertime.
Yeah, it says on here, cheers, nerds.
Sea
Change. and to
to
go with the other hat, we've got a
Sea Change Brewing Company hat. So if you don't like the dad style, the baseball curved peak, you can also get the flat back. Yeah, you don't want that worn. Don't put it on, Jeremy.
No, just putting it in front.
Yeah, you get the flat cap Sea Change hat as well.
But that's not all, is it, Daryl?
Oh, I don't know. Is that not all, Jeremy? That seems like we're giving away quite a bit now. 2 hats, a koozie, some mini discs.
Stickers.
Yeah, stickers. What else could we give away?
I don't know. What else could people use?
Maybe we could also give away a prize that was donated to us by Brendan over at BR Disc Golf.
Yes.
The probably the numero uno prize that you're going to want to win. We have a dynamic discs even, practice bag, storage bag. Use it for whatever you want. I use mine for storing my discs, but if you want to win this lovely dynamic discs practice bag, we all need to go to the field and do some more practice.
Yes, so we need to do it regularly.
Exactly. So now you have no excuse. You have a nice dynamic discs practice bag donated by Brendan over at BR Disc Golf. So like Scott was saying, support local.
Yeah.
When are we going to give all this stuff away, Jeremy?
Well, I think that's another thing. You just got to keep watching those socials of ours because we're going to do it once we get some to a subscriber point. Are we ready to reveal that number? Or do you think we'll do it on the socials?
No, I think we can do it on. Well, I mean, this hasn't been the greatest episode, so I don't know if people are going to watch till this point in the episode. But we can shout it out now. We'll also put out a post on Instagram as well.
All right, throw it out there, my friend.
So I need a drum roll. I don't have a drum roll queued up. Oh no, wait, no, we don't need.
You got one?
I got one. 250 subscribers on YouTube. We are currently sitting at 182. No, Mark, we're going to go big. We're going to go 250. 250, halfway to 500. We're going to start rounding them up now.
Start making your fake accounts.
It seems like it's far away.
Just joking.
Yeah, start making those extra accounts.
Yeah.
No, we're going to go 250 because we're going to, we feel like this is a bit of a step up from our last giveaway. We gave away a Bindle bag last time. We had some
disc,
mini
discs, some stickers. Yeah.
We also had a disc to give away last time, so you never know. We may be still adding to this prize giveaway.
Yeah, as we get closer and closer, there may be more and more to be added. We'll see as we go.
We're inspired by
Scott's generosity.
Generosity is rubbing off on us. So let's hope that things keep going in our future episodes.
Yeah.
There you go. Mark's even in on it as well. He wants more prizes added to it.
Nice. Good. And also, too, I guess that whole support local, one last thing I want to say is that you and I got some brand new Zuka carts again, and we got those through BR Disc Golf. So thanks, Brendan, for helping us with that. We got a chance to catch up with Brendan and actually meet him in person and play around at Hermitage there last week. And
check out our social media. We did put a post out with meeting Brendan for the first time, and we actually we got out and had a round of disc golf. We played with 4 players that there was a card of 6
4
of us.
Them. Yeah, 6 of us.
Yeah, we had a great afternoon or evening golfing.
Yeah, I got a lot of high fives, Daryl. Yeah, and I got a ton of high fives, which was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. If you ever want to feel positive and really enjoy the game of disc golf, like you really want to just soak it all in for like 3 hours, go out for a round of golf with Brendan. He will definitely fill you in on that. But yeah, we were so stoked to go out with Brendan, finally meet him, support local. Thanks, Brendan, for everything. The Zuka carts. Not that he gave them us. We bought them.
Yes,
we
did.
Want to say that, yeah. But the support of the podcast is awesome and greatly appreciated.
Yeah. So moving along, because we got to keep this train moving. So the next thing we've got is we've been doing these we've been doing these fantasy picks that we've been doing, these shows, and we're getting ready to do the next one because this weekend we have the second Canadian A tier coming up. And that is, as we refer to by initials all the time, it's the TCO, or the Tournament Capital
Open.
Yes, the Tournament Capital Open out in Kamloops, BC. So that was part of the reason having Scott on this show was he was planning to play. Yeah. It's too bad that he wasn't going to be there, but there's a lot of other great players who are going to be there. Thomas Gilbert's coming out to play. Sophia Donica is going to be there as well. So many players. Joe Henderson's looks like she's back in business. She was fighting a bit of an injury, and she's going to be out there. So a lot of guests that have been on the show. Heiserbaum Hong, she's going to be there. So
you just can't say her name without singing it now, can you?
I know. I want to sing it every time. You're right. So pay attention to that. And what we need you to do is we've got that episode coming out. We're going to have a special guest on that show with us, and we want you guys to vote. Vote for who's got the best team. Who do you think's going to win? Maybe at home, come up with your own team and let us know whether you beat our team for points as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll do the same as we did last time. We'll release the fantasy episode. Put your name in the comments of the person that you're voting for, and also we will put out the teams on social media on Instagram. It'll be a pinned post on Instagram as well, so we'll have a couple of pinned posts for people to see, and it'll be a vote for your favorite team, and we will shut the voting down before the end of the tournament. Normally on the Saturday or just before the third round. And vote for your favorite team, because you're going to vote for me because I'm already 1-0 up on the fan vote.
Yeah, no, show Jeremy some love. Please show Jeremy some love. And then the other thing about that is after this tournament this weekend, just like we did last time, our intention is to have an episode for you with the tournament director, with the FPO winner, and with the MPO winner. The only thing we can guarantee right now is we've reached out to Carrie Neal. She's the tournament director. We've had her on the show before, and she's excited and more than happy to come join us on the show.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what we can do to get the MPO and FPO on as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that. That'll be... I'm excited, man. I love those shows. They're so great. It's a new format that we're doing, and it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, we don't have to schedule. We schedule one of the one of the guests, but the other two is kind of like, okay, roll the dice. Who are we going to get?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we've done that, I have to go into my costume change.
Oh, can I move on to the next thing, or is that part of? Oh, okay. It's not that much of a part. Okay.
Okay. So some of you might have remembered from one of the early episodes that I was put onto a member of Team Lysac, which is Matt Lysac. And Matt Lysac is part of Parked Pro and also part of the Canadian Disc Golf Tour. So Daryl and I had been... Yeah, CDGT. Oh, you're going reverse now,
Go reverse that time.
So we've been waiting how long, Daryl, for them to announce if there was even going to be a CDGT this year?
Yeah, exactly. We, behind the scenes, we've been messaging and trying to find out when the CDGT schedule was going to be released. We kept getting told, it's coming soon. We're working on it. There's deals to be done. We're working. And it, the season kicked off, and that's when we decided, well, we need to do the fantasy league. Well, let's go for the A tiers. But the CDGT...
Boy, did they make an announcement, hey? They said last year, what was it? The CDGT was like 9 events is what they did. This year, they're doing all of the A tiers, all of the B tiers. They're all going to give you points towards Canadian Disc Golf Tour. So a lot of us, well, I guess if you or I played MPO, we would have had an opportunity in some of the tournaments like Spring Runoff to actually get some points.
Yeah.
But not only that, they are also going to be recording and putting out video for 8 of the tournaments, including the one up in the Northwest Territories in Whitehorse, and including nationals as well. So maybe I'll try to sneak onto the final hole of the MPO and sit right in camera view and try to get us on the camera.
Keep looking out for the cameras. Definitely wear your Lysac hat, or because you're gonna get on camera and edited if you're wearing the hat.
Yeah, if Matt's filming, I'll get on camera, right?
Either wear the hat or wear the chain out hat. You gotta rep chain out as well. That would be interesting to see if they put you on wearing our hat. But no, that's awesome. Like you say, great to know that they're actually going to cover some of the events, and we're going to watch some Canadian Pro Tour events. After the fact. That's awesome.
Well, and I'm going to ramble real quick, Daryl, just because I know we're going long tonight. But I'll say. So you guys know early standings here. Another guest of the show, MPO player Martin Hendel. He's leading the Canadian Disc Golf Tour right now with 240 points. Mm-hmm. Other people that we know and follow all the time, Noah Higgins, he's in 3rd. Thomas Gilbert sitting in 6th right now. Casey Hannemeyer's in 26th. And it all depends on how many events they've had a chance to play so far, because there's only been a few. Miguel's out there in 34th. Gabe Piska's even showing up on the list. He's in 37th right now.
Yeah.
Tristan Piska shows up. Dylan Froelich shows up.
Man,
all of these people we know
are repping the leaderboards.
Yeah, and you can just tell I'm getting loud and excited. You know when I get excited, right?
I can tell that, yeah.
And then I'd say on the FPO side, Rebecca Dawn, who's still, I think, qualified, and I could be wrong, you know me with my stats, still qualified to play juniors, I believe, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she's leading the FPO side with 185 points. But other guests...
I know there was a reason why I picked her.
Yeah, there is, yeah. Other guests on the show, Colleen McInnes, she's in 4th. Chantal Badinsky's in 6th. Terry Hong, has a bomb, is in 8th. And Kristen Swirls is on the list as well. So congrats to all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just making me smile and making me just kind of shake my head a bit when we're going through these names and we're like, people we've had on the podcast, and then you just read off the names of the people that we've actually had on the podcast and we've interviewed. It's crazy. These are not just names now that we know that are Canadian players. These are people that we've spoke to and we've interviewed and we've have sort of a connection with. That's so great.
Definitely. So let's wrap it up with our DGPT pros. What are they doing?
We're going to fly through this.
Thomas Gilbert. He did 85th
he played at Beaver State Fling. He finished 85th. He is going to be playing TCO this weekend.
Chantel Badinsky.
She played at the River City Open in Michigan. She finished second, so good job for her. She was 1 point away from first. This weekend, she's playing in Canada. She's playing at the Chainlink Open at Caledon,
Ontario. Yeah. Max Rajitnik. Boom.
He finished 55th at the Beaver State Fling. He'll be playing the High Country Open at Caliber in Sandpoint, Idaho this weekend, and he'll be playing with Casey and with Noah.
Sophia Donica.
She finished 21st at the Beaver State Fling. She got into the cash again. She doesn't have any tournaments this week. She's likely relaxing after the busy West Coast swing that she had.
The fastest DGPT update we've ever done.
There you go. Chain out T-shirts. People are asking in the chat.
All right, we'll work on it. We'll see what we can do.
But see, this is the thing we think. We got these hats ordered, but it was mainly just for a tester, just to see if me and Jeremy would wear them, and you know, if we had one or two for a giveaway. Is it something that somebody would want to buy as a Chain Out Podcast hat? If we got T-shirts, would people buy a Chain Out Podcast T-shirt?
Yeah, I don't know.
We thought in the beginning of the season we were going to get one or two just to wear throughout our tournaments that we were going into, so that we could do more promotion. But that kind of didn't pan out.
No,
but we're still not sold on the logo. So more news coming up at the end of the year on that. But
for sure,
we've also had an early Sonia's right on the game this week, just after I think even maybe when Scott was still talking. We have a recommendation for Black Ace for the word of the day, or for the secret word.
You know me, I want to give the listeners what they want, and I'm going to say that one works for me.
Yeah, no hanging around for you, is there? You're just straight to the, someone made a suggestion? Yeah, we'll take it.
And it's a good one. It's a good one. You know, maybe if you can throw Discape somehow and weave that into there, the Discape Black Ace.
The Discape Black Ace?
Yeah.
I like it. Black Ace, Discape, Black Ace. You can say it.
The tongue twister?
Yeah.
So, Daryl, what you going to use? Would it be a Berg, or would you use maybe an Aquarian the next time you're out at hole 14 at Rundle Park?
Oh, hole 14, it's definitely going to be an Aquarian all day.
Okay. And what are you going to do with this thing?
But the next time we get out there, there's not going to be any wind.
Oh, so that's going to be great.
Right? Do you remember those days when we used to go play disc golf in no wind?
It was like, it's in the history books. I think you have to really flip back the pages to see it.
Yeah. No, I'll be standing up there on the tee pad of 14. I'll be looking down at that basket. I'll be looking at it and I'll be saying, you know what, basket? I've got your number. I've sunk a putt or two into you before. I've aced you before. So I'll step up there with my Aquarian. It'll grip very nicely in the hand, not too deep, not too shallow.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be looking that basket dead in the eyes.
I see the way you kind of squinted at it there. Exactly. That's awesome.
Yeah. The camera will cut back and forth between the basket and my little squint of my eyes. It'll go back and forth. The music will start playing. I'll reach back. I'll rip that Aquarian. I don't want to have to put too much power on it. I'll just throw it gently down there. It'll glide and it'll go dead straight. It'll be like a laser beam. The camera will do a sudden wide pan back. It'll be crashing right towards the chains. It'll be going dead center. It'll hit those chains.
And then what will it do?
Well, I know what it will do, but I know there's one thing that it won't do.
Oh, I think I know what it won't do. It won't do.
What do you think it won't do?
Well, it could never do it.
It wouldn't.
Chain out!
Oh, I should have been ready.
Thanks, everybody.
There you go. Thanks, everybody, for sticking by. It was a rocky road, but we got there in the end.
And we love you all for being our listeners and being so awesome. Thank you.
Cheers, everybody.